our friends. So tell me, what are we? You know that I hate this game. You apologize, always say that you're sorry, but why does it feel the same? I used to keep my cool, but when it comes to you, I do whatever you want me to do. I used to keep my cool, but when it comes to you, I always fall head first when I'm with you. I never think before I do. I always fall head first, but believe that I'm the fool when it comes to you. I always fall head first when I'm with you. I never think before I do. I always fall head first, but believe that I'm the fool when it comes to you. Please don't tell me lies, just say what you're thinking. Stop playing all these games. You apologize, always say that you're sorry, but why does it feel the same? It's like nothing's changed. I used to keep my cool, but when it comes to you, I do whatever you want me to do. I used to keep my cool, but when it comes to you, I always fall head first when I'm with you. I never think before I do. I always fall head first, but believe that I'm the fool when it comes to you. I always fall head first when I'm with you. I never think before I do. I always fall head first, but believe that I'm the fool when it comes to you. Baby, I'm the fool. I used to keep my cool, but when it comes to you, I always fall head first when I'm with you. I never think before I do. I always fall head
Well, everybody. It's a time check here. We are 7:18 in China, and I have some great guests to bring on the program today. Ooh, it's going to be a long week, and we got a lot to talk about today. That is for sure. I just want to thank everybody for joining the program today. We have a few people already in the chat on the side there, and of course, we got some new faces on the program today. Ben Coleman's coming in the house. Don't worry, everyone. He's got a lot to talk about, and you guys got to listen to everything. He's got a great channel as well. Fermube is off-roading. He's off the road. Something happened. He's going to tell us about that. Don't worry. Don't panic. He's still alive, but it was a close call. Okay, so a special hello to Mark. Thank you for coming in. Hang, thank you very much. And throughout the program, if you guys want to ask some questions, no problem. Just ask them. We will try to accommodate you. And don't forget, once again, below there, that's right, just below in that description box is everybody's channel. That's right, Fermube's there, Fernando's channel's there, of course, and Ben Coleman, the newcomer to the program today. We're going to bring both of the gentlemen on the program right now. Here is Fernando and Ben Coleman. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining the program today. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough one today. I'm going to go to Fernando. Thanks, Fernando, for coming through. And what's going on with you? What happened? Tell us.
Well, Alex, thank you. And Ben, welcome to, well, Alex's show. And it's going to be a very good one. It's great to hear what you have to say. In the preparation, we talked about your story, and you guys really want to hear what he has to say. Well, look, I was invited to host a couple of videos during the air show in Zhuhai at the beginning of the month. And on my way here, my RV trailer blew a tire. And in doing so, it just ripped part of the floor of the RV. This being an imported RV, it takes a little bit more time to get the parts that we need. So we were lucky that we were near Dongguan, where we lived. I lived for 22 years, and the person that does repairs and everything is somebody that we know. So we're in good hands. But we've been here for about 2 weeks almost, and we probably will be here another week until everything is done, everything is settled. We basically have to buy a new wheel, a new rim, and everything.
Oh
Um,
my.
so yeah, that's the story. The air show went great. One of the best live streams I've done with Guangdong TV. We had 300,000 views. That was phenomenal. And yeah, waiting here until all the materials are ready so we can get going and start going to where our good friend Guilo 60 used to live. We're gonna head out to Guangxi.
Ah, very
But
nice,
yeah,
very
back to
nice.
you guys.
All right, Ben, welcome to the program, Ben. Tell us about yourself. Tell
Hello.
us about your channel. Yes, let's hear it, my friend.
All right. So I did 1 year in Shanghai back in 2018 to 2019, and I left in August 2019. So before anything happened, COVID was not a thing the last time I was in Shanghai. And I recently came back, so just this August. So I've only been back in Shanghai for almost 4 months. So that's when I came back, and I've had experience with the quarantine when I arrived in China. I've had experience with home quarantine, and I just got out of a hotel just last week when I was in there for 8 days. So I have plenty of experience with quarantine, and of course, with the increase in cases in Shanghai, they're still having multiple lockdowns, and there's still mass testing and so many policies about travel, and there's still many things that are affecting day-to-day life in many ways. So yeah, thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much. Yes, well, this is a pretty complex week here. As you can see on the ticker tape scrolling below, that's right, that's not a misprint. That's 517,000 local volunteers here in Chongqing. And if you didn't know, and you already know because you watch my channel, you will know that Chongqing is one of the largest cities in the world with a massive population of over 32 million. Disputably one of the largest cities in the world. I will say that we have the crown, but that's just because I'm biased. Anyway, yes, so we have a lot to cover here, and I really want to get into talking about how each city has been dealing with this. But there's a couple of things that I want to clear up to the audience currently here, and the reason why we're calling the show China's Pandemic Prevention and Special Coverage is because I'm on day 12 of, we call it COVID prevention. I like that word COVID prevention over the other word because really that's what it is. Anyway, just to get into details about that, I have a lot of relatives in Canada, United States, as well in Europe. And they consistently say to me, it's got to end sometime, Alex. It's got to be over. It's got to be finished. Everyone's going to get it. Everyone's going to be infected. They should just open the borders up. Now, here's where I think tonight's conversation is going to get a little bit saucy. And that's because I've really changed my opinion on how this prevention was. I've always been in support of it. But what I find that really is starting to strike me is that if this country would have opened up 3 years ago and followed the 190 other countries on their COVID policy, oh boy, we would really, really, really be in trouble. And to my knowledge and to my understanding of being here 18 months now, I really must say that the responsibility of the government to take care of its people, that objective has been fulfilled. There's no denying it. There's no denying that more people are alive because of these preventions. More people have a better health because of these preventions. And then everyone will fall back. And I'm talking everyone when I'm talking about the Western media, where they'll say, oh, man, but the economy. Have you looked around lately? Have you seen the United Kingdom's economy? Have you seen Canada's? Have you seen the United States? Rocketing inflation, rocketing, you name it. It's all over the place. I'm going to just pass the mic over to Fernando, because Fernando really has a lot of experience in this as well. And we're going to get around to Ben in a moment, guys. But we're going to just start with Fernando, just to kind of disclose what you really feel, what's going on in your part of China, and your opinion. And we have lots of video footage to share tonight with you guys of the local heroes here. Remember, 517,000 volunteers are working behind the scenes, right out that window there, right out that very window there. They are helping. I'm going to pass this over to Fernando, because I know you have a lot to talk about this kind of thing.
Thank you, Alex. Well, look, I have probably three things to say off to what you just introduced and asked me. The first thing is, I always make it a point. It is very important for me that every single time that I go test, and I do this pretty much daily because I'm moving around so much, I always make sure to say thank you for your work. Thank you for your effort to the people that are testing me every single time. If you are in China and don't know how to say this in Chinese, you say 辛苦了, which is thank you for your effort, for your sacrifice, and for what you do to keep us safe. Not many people appreciate the work that they do, and you will always see a smile in the eyes because they're wearing masks, but they appreciate that. Now, the second thing that I wanted to say or share with you is, in my personal experience, I've just been lucky. Yesterday, we have a place where we test, which is a 1 minute drive from here. And we were coming from having lunch with some friends. And we went by that place, and there was a very long line. So I said to my wife, you know what, why don't we just go to the other testing place, which is 4 minutes from here? Because this line is too long, and we know that that line usually not that long. So we go over there, we test over there, come back home. This morning we wake up, they found a case in that place where we were going to test. And all that area, just 2 minutes from here, is locked down. We have locked out so many times in Qingyuan. We've locked out in Fuzhou. We've locked out in so many places. And my biggest concern is not that I'm going to be locked down. That's not my problem. The problem is that if they take me to a hotel or a lockdown quarantine place, what's going to happen to my animals? That is my only fear. Other than that, happy to comply. I understand the importance of compliance. I understand the importance of following the instructions and doing what, well, is proven to work. That is the main thing. When people criticize what China is doing, they don't understand that you mentioned it earlier, but were China to open up just any moment rapidly, very quickly, it will be extremely counterproductive to the economy, to the health of millions of people. And worse than that, the efforts and the sacrifices that millions of people have done over these 3 years would be wasted. So this is why my position is, I do not think China is going to change its policy quickly or suddenly. Now, we did see after the Big 20 that there were some changes and some announcements that were made. Important to mention, for example, some pilot cities. Certain pilot areas of China have been chosen to, okay, what would happen if we loosen the restrictions in this particular area? And they're doing that. A couple, I can't remember names, but I've read it, and there's a few places where they're saying, okay, what would happen in this particular situation, in this particular place, if we did that? Another important change was the what is called the second contact. If you are the second contact of somebody who tested positive, you no longer have to quarantine or be locked down. So there's a reduction in the circle of effect of a positive case. So that is a huge breather for a lot of people. Now, here's the thing that I want to finish my little speech here, and then we can go to Ben and talk about his experience coming back in. It is very important to understand that whatever mandate comes from central government has to pass down all the way down to the security guard over here at the gate of this place where I am, or that baoan in that particular garden, or that police officer that is enforcing something. So not all the information gets to the local level fast, effectively, clearly. You're dealing with people who maybe don't understand exactly what the new rules are. And this is where you're going to encounter individual circumstances where people get frustrated and upset. The last thing that I would like to mention before going to Ben is we also the situation that happened in Guangzhou with some ladies that were abusing the people protecting the community. They were abusing the people who were doing the COVID tests, and they ended up being arrested, and basically it became a show. There's a lot of background information to that story, but maybe we get back to that one a little bit later. So that's my understanding, and this is how I would like to get the ball rolling. Understanding that China cannot get away from its dynamic zero COVID policy right off the bat. They're starting to relax things, and they're starting to see how things develop following a scientific path, basically a blueprint of what they've been doing and how they can micro-target it to release some pressure on the economy and the psychology, the pressures that people feel due to the quarantines and the lockdowns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's it. So back to you, Ben.
I think, Ben, you're in Shanghai, just so the audience, you've experienced, of course, don't want to call it a lockdown, call it a quarantine on your arrival to China. I think mine was 28 days in total. So you've arrived, you were quarantined, and then you were cleared, and then small outbreak, something like that. Let us know.
Yes. So I arrived in Xi'an at the beginning of August, and my final destination was Shanghai, but I could only get a flight to Xi'an. So I was told that I would stay in that hotel in Xi'an, the quarantine hotel, for 10 days, and then I would be allowed to go to Shanghai. But it ended up being 7 days in the quarantine hotel, and then I was able to fly to Shanghai, and then I was in home quarantine in Shanghai. So I ended up doing 10 days when I arrived in China originally. And then I did have a small quarantine of 2 days where I was a close contact. I was the second close contact. So someone from my school was the first contact, so I was the second close contact. So I had to stay home for 2 days. And then just recently, I went to Shanghai Disneyland, and I ended up being the first close contact. And I was told to go home, so I went home. I went to Shanghai Disneyland on a Friday, and then the Monday, so 3 days later, I got a call, and they said, "Do you have a red code?" And I said, "Yes, I know." And they said, "You need to go home immediately." So I went home, and they said, "Just stay there." They said, "Don't go outside, don't do any tests, just stay there, and we will tell you what to do, basically." So I stayed home for 2 days before I had any other contact from anyone, the government or anyone. And then I had a call at 11 p.m. and they said, "Pack your bags, you're going to a hotel." And I said, "Okay, tomorrow?" Because it's 11 p.m. They said, "No, someone's going to be there in an hour." So I packed my bags, and then 2 a.m. It ended up being at 2 a.m. The bus came, picked me up, took me to the hotel. And when I got to the hotel, they said, "You'll be here for 7 days." So I said, "Okay." So I packed for 7 days. And I actually ended up, they said I'd be in there for 10 days. So don't know why, still don't know why. And then I actually ended up being there for 8 days. Again,
Wow.
don't know why it was 8 days, but yeah, on the night of the 7th day, they said, "Pack your bags, because you can go home." And of course, I didn't say, "Are you sure? Please check again." I said, "Okay." I packed my bags, and then so I ended up doing 2 days at home and then 8 days in the quarantine hotel. and then I was free to go after 10 days.
Well, you've had quite the experience. And let's, I want to explain to the audience, what Ben has kind of gone through there. He's gone through a pretty organized procedure that pretty much everybody's aware of it in China. There's no surprise if there's somebody that's got COVID in your building, COVID on your floor, COVID across the street, COVID down the street. Get ready. There's an understanding. It's pretty clear. It's pretty transparent. I just want to give you guys a video here that was shared to us yesterday. And this is showing that people are getting ready to go to they've kind of built a temporary cubed kind of hotel just in case to kind of isolate the cases here in Chongqing. Now you're going to see the Western media will say, wow, look at that. Their hotel, their hospitals are bursting. No, their hospitals aren't bursting here. They are preparing just in case something happens. You see that percentage on the screen there. That's from Hang. Just imagine that. 1% of Chongqing, if it gets infected, that's 320,000 beds, okay? Now, of course, the government's doing everything. There's volunteers everywhere you can imagine. And they're not getting paid. I mean, the people that do the COVID tests outside of my building at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, they're not salary paid employees. No. This is a country that is working together responsibly. I'll say that again, responsibly, for the better of mankind, for the better of the brother, the sisters, the cousins, the aunties, the grandmas, the grandpas. Let's have a look at here some footage here that was shared with me yesterday. And this is, I'm going to bring this up here. And this is people getting ready to go to a facility, and they're lining up in the PPE, organized, done right, organized right, making sure there's not cross infections and stuff like that. To the Western media's eyes, you guys might not understand this. I get it, because you probably haven't seen this before, but this is how China prevents this pandemic from going like wildfire. They're doing everything they can. They're not perfect. If they're perfect, we'd have zero, right? We'd have zero. But they are trying. They are using the methods that they can. And what's amazing here, guys, is I'm going to share this with you guys, the panel. Is our contact tracing app really disrupting our lives when we need to show it to go to the shopping mall, or need to show it responsibly to get into a dental office or a bank it's not, if anything, I actually wake up and say, oh, it's green. I'm going to be okay. I feel okay. I mean, your guys' opinion. What's your thoughts? Let's go with Fernando. What's your thoughts on this contact tracing app?
I have a peculiar situation, is that I moved from one province to another in my RV trailer for my travel channel. That means that I need to use different apps whenever I enter a new area. So I need to download, they're called widgets or mini apps, whatever, either on, okay, here's the thing. In Guangdong, we usually use WeChat, and there's something called GHC, or Guangdong Health Check, a health card. But that doesn't work outside of Guangdong. Outside of Guangdong, you use Alipay. Now, Alipay is the one that works really, really well all over China. So here's the interesting thing. Alipay doesn't work in Guangdong very well, and WeChat doesn't work outside of Guangdong. So that was the first thing that I learned. You need to download mini apps for every new province that you go to. There's also different cities and different prefectures and different towns. When you stay in one place, well, you need to register. The problem that I have experienced is that in some of these smaller prefectures or towns, they developed this app without thinking, oh, there might be a foreigner coming. So when you, they're that small. So when you basically start to input your data, it asks for, okay, you need to give your 身份证, your Chinese ID. and I don't have one because I'm a foreigner. And there is no option to choose passport. So in that particular case, I cannot do the free tests. That means that I need to go to a hospital, not one of those test sites that are all over the country that are very convenient, as I said. 1 minute, 5 minutes, just very convenient. But if I cannot register in those apps, I need to go to a hospital, and I need to get a hospital card, and I need to pay, and I need to pick up a paper because that information usually does not go to my phone. So it's a little bit more complicated when you are moving around so much. Um, and that is perhaps my only complaint. And I think I voiced this out before on Twitter and other things, is after 3 years, we don't have a unified system that
Mm.
integrates all provinces and that works for all people residents in China, or tourists or whatever. It doesn't encompass all the possibilities for everybody. And after 3 years, I do not think that that's a priority now, and we are too far into this pandemic prevention that I don't see the effort of doing it. I understand that at first they chose to do local solutions quickly, and they gave some guidelines to all these cities, towns, and villages, and right. But they
Mm.
could have, after some time, created a universal, a unique, sorry, not unique, but unifying app that would work all over the land, and that was not done, and I don't think it will be done. Uh, there's no reason for them to do it after 3 years. So yeah, me and my wife, we do what we can. Whenever I cannot register with my passport, then we end up going to a hospital, and we work out uh, the different steps that are done. Um, that's my personal experience. That is my personal experience. That's my complaint, if I were to say. But other than that, you know that things are being taken care, and that's how we are kept healthy. That's how we are kept alive, and that's how the economy is able to uh, continue. Now, am I saying that the economy hasn't suffered? No. Am I saying that everybody is happy with the situation? Of course not. But people here understand that the government is doing the best they can. The government is doing what they know works to protect us. There were, since the beginning, two streams. You can go with herd immunity, or you can go with protecting people and stop the contagion.
Mm.
China chose this path. The rest of the world chose herd immunity, and well, the numbers don't lie, right? We have
Yeah,
millions of deaths abroad and very few in the mainland. So yeah, back to you, Alex.
yeah. I mean, this is where I struggle. And I'm just reading some of the comments in the sidebar here. Normally, I pay attention to what I'm doing, but sometimes I trickle my eyes off to the left and I read them. Here is an interesting comment, and I want to address this. And I think it's good to kind of educate sometimes our viewers of this program that the big bad China that you think is the big bad China is actually not. That is your Western media really, really ramping up the propaganda. I mean, I have to admit, being a Canadian, wow, did I really figure it out how much propaganda can really impact your life? I just talk to my family on a week-to-week basis, and it's amazing. The biggest propaganda machines in the world are our own governments of Canada, who finances the Canadian Broadcasting Council or the British Broadcasting Corporation in the United Kingdom. These are massively funded state media, okay? And they are to make you feel good, and everything outside your border is bad. Here's a good comment here. Which audience are you talking to? Is this to the local Chinese? We do talk to the local Chinese because they got great applications like Bilibili, like Douyin, who you probably use maybe their subsidiary TikTok. It's a great app. I suggest you download it. And also Sequa and all these other applications. There's this myth here that people aren't allowed to use YouTube. In fact, a lot of people do watch YouTube, but let me give you an example. A lot of my Chinese friends actually say, well, why YouTube? I mean, we have our own our own channels. Do we really need to go to that? Like, Alex, when you get to China, do you rush onto, another application, or you stay with what you're used to? Here's an issue where I think it's important to kind of educate the people that are watching this program. It's YouTube is responsibility and problem for not being in China. When you have a social network that can actually cut off the president of the United States, delist him, deplatform him, and it takes a multi-billionaire to get his voice back. And I'm not talking that I agree with any political party, because United States and U.S. politics, sorry, not interested. But what I'm saying is, when those platforms have that ability and have that strength to influence or to sway certain people, can you imagine if that platform allowed people to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and the Chinese, the government, or the people had no way of shutting that down? And that could be a terrorist attack. That could be a planned event. It could be something. And we've seen it over and over. You can't deny it. It's these platforms have been used. And I think Fernando's showing something on his screen, but what do we?
Hold on. My account has been suspended.
Which one?
Twitter.
Okay. Well, there you go. So, I mean, it's YouTube, Google, Facebook all had a meeting with the authorities, and it was very clear. Guys, if there's something wrong, if there's a potential terrorist attack or something, we need to be able to intervene. Well, YouTube, Facebook, all these guys said, no, not interested. Okay, well, that's all right. You've just kissed goodbye 1.5 billion potential clients. No problem. Things move on. And what I find really amazing is where people say, well, free speech, Alex. I'm sorry, but I have to say that some of our Western accounts get shut down and our Chinese accounts don't. So where is the free speech? I mean, where is the free speech? I know this panel might not agree with me, but I see a lot of these things where people say, oh, it's banned, it's illegal, it's banned. Actually, people just don't care. If they can't get on YouTube, they just don't care. And their phones aren't designed for it either. It's not Huawei's fault that they can't get active to the Google Play Store. That's litigation. That's U.S. banning of Huawei, guys. I mean, all I'm saying is, when I see comments like this from our viewers, I have to bring them up because, yeah, it really it's really colorful to read them. Ben, so tell us, are you out of quarantine? What's going on? How are things in Shanghai at this time?
In Shanghai, there has been an increase in cases. I want to go back to what Fernando said about the testing. It takes 2 minutes. It takes 2 minutes to go outside and do a test. And I always get asked, do you not feel like they're controlling you? Do you not feel like, you're under so much pressure to do a test? It's like, no, I walk outside, and if it's open, I do a test. If I walk by and it's open, I do a test, And it's not like you wake up and I'm thinking about, oh no, I need to go and do a test. It's like, it's not like that. We have enough time to do a test. We have plenty of opportunities to do a test. There's so many convenient facilities to go and do a test, and it takes 2 minutes. And like Fernando says, if one's busy, you walk down the street, you go to another one. So it's not like you're limited to where you need to go, but it doesn't affect your life. It really doesn't. And for me personally, in my primary school, we have testing every single day. So luckily, I don't need to go outside and do a test because we have testing inside for the teachers and the students. And going back to scanning in places, I would want to know if the guy behind me has COVID. Like, wouldn't you want to know? And people are so surprised that everywhere we go, we have to show our health code, we have to scan in. It's like, how do you see that as a negative thing? Because I would want to know if someone around me has COVID. Of course, I'd want to know because I want to be safe and I don't want to go somewhere else and put other people in danger, you know? So
Mhm.
it's like we're saying, people, if you're not here, they don't understand what's going on. You know, they don't understand what's going on. And like Fernando says, the numbers don't lie. The numbers really don't lie.
Fernando,
Ben, no,
sorry.
I have a question for you. You came back to China. What is the contrast? What was the most surprising thing, contrasting thing that you experienced, or that you have experienced after you came back? And how do you evaluate that? How do you explain it? The differences.
Yeah, it's there are many differences. Of course, there are many differences. Well, one of the things I was really surprised about is back to something that Alex said. People are in this together. We're in this together, and I feel like before maybe people would keep themselves just a little bit, but I know that if I need something, I can go to my neighbor and give it to me. You know, if we're in lockdown, then we're in lockdown together because we have no choice. You know, we have no choice. So I definitely feel like people are closer. People help each other a lot more because you know the only way to get through this is to get through it together. And everyone knows the situation. No one's surprised when there's a lockdown, and people want to work together because that's the only way China's going to get out of this. If you complain and you do what they do in the Western countries, it's not going to be good. Excuse me, it's not going to be good for anyone. So working together is definitely something that I was surprised by when I came back.
Interesting. Here's a comment here that I'd like to ask once again from M Love, showing me lots of love in the comment section today, of course. Can I ask why China is the only country in the world with quarantine?
I can answer that for you if you want.
You know, I have a huge answer for that, but I have to hand this to Fernando. I do. I have to hand it over to you, Fernando. Go ahead.
Because of what we said earlier, there were two options at the beginning of the pandemic. Herd immunity, basically let people die and develop, well, their own immunity, but that would mean sacrificing a lot of people, or try to prevent the contagion, try to prevent the spread of the virus. Now, science tells us how to do that. To stop the spread, isolate the virus until, well, that virus dies, or you can cure the virus, or the person passes away. But that's the way to stop the spread. And this is what we've been practicing for 3 years. Now, here's the thing. What you should consider is, how come Wuhan, which was the place where it's actually found and discovered for the first time and made public, let's not talk about what took place in Barcelona or the vaping incidents in America, let's not talk about that. How is it possible that Wuhan reopened its 6 or 8 week lockdown by April 2020? People are forgetting that we lived a new normal life pretty much all of the second half of 2020, pretty much the entirety of 2021. Now, what happened outside of China, and this explains the quarantines, my friend, you guys did nothing. And the virus mutated and changed and became stronger and became more this and more that. So now, whatever is happening outside, if you want to come into China, you're bringing something that we probably have never seen. All these asymptomatic cases, that's new, that's strange. We had Omicron at the beginning of 2021. Now we have a new variant. So China was hoping that the world would take care of its own issues with the virus, but they didn't. And if you open up right now to the West, well, all these variants and all these things that have mutated and changed and made the virus either spread faster, spread easier, attack different ages and stuff, is going to be worse. So China cannot do that without proper quarantine. So it's the reason why there's still quarantine, because China chose a different path, a path and love that has saved millions of lives. It's that simple.
It is really, and we'll get to Ben in a sec here. I just want to bring up another story here on our iChongqing news channel here, written by one of our reporters. China thinks of every step here. And of the 517,000 volunteers, unpaid volunteers, they are there to provide every step of the way. This can't be done unless you have big data. It's impossible unless you have contact tracing apps, which the West said, fear, 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 be afraid of the contact tracing apps. Let me explain to you guys my experience in Thailand. Thailand tried to use a contact tracing app. Failed miserably. Massive lockdowns, okay? We are talking 4-month, 8-month lockdowns. Okay, you can go for groceries, but everything else was shut down. Don't believe me? You don't have to. I lived there. I lived there during the whole process. I came to China in August. You can see the video on my site, August 2021. Absolute shutdown of the airport, ghost town. 90% of the companies to the wall. They went to the wall. No surviving. People keep saying, well, the rest of the world has moved on. Well, the rest of the world, the world's not open, guys. It's not open yet. 1.5 million people aren't back in the system. There's 8 billion people on this earth, but 1.5 had not come back in the system. And you might say, well, China's closed. Well, Fernando made that point. China's open inside China. Okay, it's a huge, huge country of 1.5 billion people. It's open. Now, we deal with these things. We use contact tracing apps. They work. They're effective. They are. And for people that say that, wow, Sinovac, it's ineffective. Gee, that's funny. This is one of the countries with the lowest death rates in the world. So you're saying that their vaccination was not good when it has one of the lowest per capita death rates in the world for a pandemic? You see, what's interesting is that I have the experience of being outside of China. Same with Ben. We're being outside of China. We saw what happened. We saw what went down. And now we're in China. Being outside of China, at my age, okay, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, but still, I was looking for a vaccination. I went to my embassy. My embassy said, and while I was living in Thailand, can't really do much for you, Alex. Okay. Any suggestions? I'm willing to pay for it, get vaccination. Oh, I'll go to a Thai hospital. Went to the Thailand hospital. Sorry, sir. Locals only. Ooh, okay. That kind of altered my opinion a little bit on a country that have condos in and supported the economy by having a business and stuff. And I said, well, wait a minute. So I should go on a wait list? Yes, go on a wait list. Still today, 2022, 11th month, 21st day, I'm still on 7 waiting lists in Thailand because no one's ever called me back. But I'll tell you guys this story, and this story is amazing. I saw an alert come on when I was in Thailand in July that said the Chinese government is vaccinating its citizens outside of China. And I had a contract in China ready to go, work contract, the great people at iChongqing. I took that contract into the hospital and I said, I got a job. I got to be there. And the lady says, this is for Chinese. And I said, I got to be there. And she said, well, I'll put your name on the list, but it's not, and I showed her the letter. It's in Chinese, written in Chinese, serious looking contract. And she says, well, if somebody doesn't show up, I'll call you. Well, lo and behold, either 1 or 2 days later, she phoned me. She said, you need to be here 4:30. There's a slot. I get there. I get the I think it was Sinovac or Coronavac, one of the two. And I tell you, this is, once I got that, there was a sense of relief. And I'm not trying to push on, should you get vaccinated or shouldn't you get vaccinated? There's not a push for actual people. There's no mandatory vaccination here. There's not.
In China, no.
No, there's not. And I got it because it was a choice. At the time, I felt it's a choice. I'm glad that my mother at her age got it too. But that's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm trying to say here is that I had a sense of security and relief on a country that I wasn't a citizen in. Doesn't that ring a bell to you guys, that you can understand that I show some support and passion for what the government's doing here? Because I was left on my own in China, in Thailand, when it came to this, and it was at a peak. We're not talking 1,000 cases in Thailand. We were talking 60 to 70,000 cases. You can watch my videos. I drive around hospitals, people in the parking lot in hospital beds, waiting for them, just spilling onto the streets. It was anarchy. And here it is. The Chinese government had a vaccination for me. Well, I owe it to China to at least commend them for their organization of getting their citizens. This is July of 2021. To me, that's extraordinary. Ben, maybe you can share with the audience. I know I came in August of 2021, but what was the requirements for you to come in to China? And what did you have to go through? I mean, it must have been quite the experience. I mean, visa, I guess you say, is easy at that point. I mean, it was hellish for me, but easy at that point. But then the game starts to begin with the flights. Maybe you could tell us about it.
Yes, definitely. So in regards to the visa was easy, but it took a long time. I think from start to finish, my visa took maybe 6 or 7 months. And then the next step was to get a flight. And I definitely was not booking a flight before I got my visa, because there was no guarantee when I was going to get the visa or if I was actually going to get it. So I got my visa, and then I had to be in Shanghai for my job within, I think I had 6 weeks. So I was looking for flights. And at the time in August, the regulation was you need 2 COVID tests in everywhere you stop. So if you have a direct flight, just in your home country, 2 COVID tests, 48 hours before, 24 hours before, and then you fly to China. But there was no direct flights from UK, from anywhere. So my only alternative was to look for flights with layovers. So I ended up getting a flight from London to Copenhagen in Denmark, and then Copenhagen to Xi'an. But that meant doing 2 COVID tests in London, 2 COVID tests in Copenhagen, and then flying to Xi'an. And it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap. I think my 2 COVID tests in London ended up being maybe $400 US. And then in Copenhagen, it was around, I think it was 550 or 600 US.
Wow.
Just for two regular tests. Just because there's no other choice. You don't have a choice. It's a business. Like there's usually no other choice. Yeah. Like think about, I mean, on my flight, maybe 300, 400 people, every single person paid $500. You know, that's one flight. Imagine that every single day. A few flights a day, it was wild. But that was the regulations. It was 2 COVID tests in everywhere you stop. So if you had 2 layovers, you would have to do 2 COVID tests everywhere. And I know people that did that. I know someone that went from the US, 2 COVID tests to New Zealand, 2 COVID tests to Australia, 2 COVID tests into China, because that was the only flight available. There was no flight available, and the flights that were available, they were like $15,000 US or like $12,000 US, because they were direct. So it was definitely a difficult process, just because of you need to line everything up. And people on my flight, they tested positive and they couldn't go, so they had to start the whole process again.
Oh my!
On my flight, there was one guy. He was in tears. He was on his knees in tears in the doctor's office, just begging, because he had to get to China for his job. But they didn't allow him to fly, which means he had to go into quarantine. Then he had to get another flight. He had to do COVID tests again. He had to get everything again. And it's not an easy process. And I've heard recently about people maybe being a bit wary of foreigners, but if anything, I've tested more than anyone. You know, so the fact that I may be a risk is completely not true, because I've been in quarantine, I've tested, I've done so many things to get into China. So if anything, foreigners are more safer than than the Chinese people because it's not easy to get here. And
Yeah.
I knew what I was getting into. Like it definitely wasn't a surprise. I knew when I booked my flight, I knew I had to go into quarantine, I knew I had to do COVID test, so everything was expected, but it was definitely not an easy process.
Yeah, we had that. We had that in China. I'm just going to add this, and maybe Fernando, you can. I know you want to speak here, so you can maybe talk about this as well. There's a lot of people that are in the comments saying that it's heavily reliant on volunteers. I agree with you. Here's an example here. Midnight Listener provides psychological help to neighbors. Just talks about people that need someone to talk to. This is a difficult time. Sure, this hits the top and the bottom. Sure, there's a lot of people that are suffering. Businesses suffering. Of course, I have Chinese friends that call me and they say, Alex, this is tough. This is going to be tough on businesses. I know it's tough. I saw it in Thailand. But the thing that Thai government didn't do is they let most of the companies go to the wall. They let them go to the wall. And the real disappointing thing is that country, even though it claims to be rebounding, is missing its biggest market. It's China. And that hasn't been able to, the Chinese haven't been able to travel there. And that's really, really hurting. But this shows us that a lot of governments have made mistakes. I mean, we have some viewers here from Australia. I remember hearing the news that Australia didn't even allow its own citizens to come back into its own country. I mean, that is it's got a bit of a North Korean flair to it, guys. I mean, this is crazy stuff. I know the Canadian government is having a massive investigation on their COVID policies that they took. So this one here, to my, being a foreigner here, yeah, we have these lockdowns. I mean, I'm day 12 on this one. It looks like it could go on for another week, maybe 2 weeks. And you sit back and maybe you get members of your family that says, hey, we're open here. Everything's fine. Everyone's going to get it. But I'm going to say this. If you haven't watched 76 Days documentary, you have to rent it and watch it tonight to give you viewers a very, very clear example of what is going on. And another one is you have to watch another documentary that they had in New York. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, my panel, that in March of 2020, New York went from the first case within a 6-week period to 36,000 deaths and 360,000 people killed within a 5-month radius at almost 9 to 10% kill rate. So that's why they're taking it serious. Do you blame? I can't. It's interesting that we have critics still to this day when a country doesn't charge foreigners to even go for a COVID test. Not that difficult. I don't want to get COVID. Sorry, guys, I don't want to get it. Oh, you'll be fine. Sorry, I don't want to get it. I bet you have sniffles for a few days. No, thank you. I don't want it. If I don't have to have it, I don't want it. But the thing is, it's so hard to explain to the international viewers is, guys, China might do it again. And what I mean by this is that if it's worked so far, you can't tell me that the government here is not planning on how to take this to another level to ease this program. I feel, maybe Fernando and Ben, I think they're gearing up here, and they have a 20-point plan that I'll try to bring up here on the show today or tomorrow's show. But do you think there are some steps here that, they've relaxed it to 5 days? Okay, they're doing the traditional slowdown of the quarantine. But with this contact tracing app, I sat up the other night and I said, how are these guys going to do this? Then I thought maybe they're going to say self-testing, scan your own self-test kit, put your test kit in there. Maybe that's one. Don't underestimate these guys. this isn't a country that needs a year to try to get an application working. They'll get it working, and they'll get it working fast. And I don't know, Fernando, let's hear it. What are you
I
thinking?
think that the main thing here is reaction time. Something that I forgot to tell you when I was putting you up to speed on my adventures and my problems was that when we sent the RV trailer to get fixed at the factory, we set it up, whatever. We went to a hotel. 2 days later, the owner of the factory says, like, look, there was a COVID case in the area, in the industrial park, so don't come here. So I couldn't go back to get stuff. I had already planned ahead, but the main thing was that a lot of things that were needed for the repairs and stuff could not go in because it's just locked down. But here's the thing, they were locked down for about 3 or 4 days, if I'm not mistaken. This is what people don't understand. When they are able to detect a case, they jump very quickly to lock down the area. They cordon it out. Nobody leaves. Nobody goes out. We're going to test you for the next 2 or 3 days. And there's boom, 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 test. And they're able to figure out what happened, what took place. Was it a secondary contact? Was it a first contact? Was it a person who tested positive? So through these testing, intensive testing of this small area, because that's just an industrial park, guys. And the area that closed yesterday is a square kilometer. So they micro target. Somebody was asking about, what about micro targeting? I don't hear about it. Well, you don't hear it because you don't live here, but I can see it. They are small areas where they're locked down for a very short period of time to figure out what's taking place and what needs to be done. Now, when that micro targeting fails, it is for one of two reasons. One, they did not implement the lockdown quickly enough. Or two, people ran away from the lockdown, or people lied about information. And this leads to very quick and vast spreads of the virus that we saw, for example, with Omicron in Shanghai, or perhaps what we're seeing in Chongqing right now. It's a couple of days that you don't do what needs to be done, and shoo, it just spreads like wildfire. And then what you're having to do is play catch up. You're having to spread the net quite wide so as to go back and figure out what exactly took place and wait for everybody to be safe again. So it's basically what I've experienced. I've never been in a lockdown that is large. It's always been, I've actually never been locked down as such, but I've always been close to places that are locked down relatively small. Now, I would like to throw this last topic to the panel. Just the other day, I read in the news that some Chinese people lied to authorities about their whereabouts and their testing and whatnot. And they were found guilty of actually having brought the virus to an area. They put thousands of people in quarantine. They cost the government and enterprises millions and millions of renminbi. What does the government do? They make them accountable and responsible. It is a crime to lie to health authorities about your condition and about your situation. And they will find out. Eventually, they will find out because of the tracing and because of the testing. So that's something that I wanted to throw out to you. What do you guys feel about legal consequence for lying or failing to be truthful to health authorities about your COVID situation?
For me personally, I got my red health card because I went to Shanghai Disneyland, and I got a call and they said, please tell me where you've been in the last 3 days. So I said, okay, I've been at work. I went to a supermarket and I went to Shanghai Disneyland. They said, okay, give me 5 minutes. And they called me back and they said, yep, the record is from Shanghai Disneyland. And the reason that I told them is to help them, get it, narrow it down. Where has this come from? And if I said, no, I haven't been anywhere, I've just been at home, it would take them so much longer to get the information out there. Okay, we need to check Shanghai Disneyland and we need to check my school, which they did. And they locked down my school because there was, I think, 5 teachers and students that went to Shanghai Disneyland the same day as me. So it was a lot quicker for them to get to the area. Like Fernando said, it's a small area. It's a small area. So where I was locked down, there was the people that went to Shanghai Disneyland. It wasn't the whole of Shanghai. And my school was closed. It was just my school. It wasn't the school next door. It wasn't the school down the street. So the fact that people are saying, no, I didn't go there or I didn't go anywhere, they know. And they're going to find out. So if you tell them, it's going to help them and it's going to be better for everyone. So I know that I got my red code from Shanghai Disneyland and that helped them narrow it down and put people in quarantine quicker. And of course that helped because less people were out there and without knowing that they were in an affected area.
One thing that I wanted to mention about this legal repercussions is that there's this thing that China does is they don't reveal the identities of the people who commit this kind of crimes. They don't want the large society pinpointing their fingers and blaming certain people. They'll be made to pay. There'll be legal repercussions to what they did, but they try not to. So going back to the story of what took place in Guangzhou, these ladies who came up to a testing site in Guangzhou, a place that has seen thousands of cases every day, new cases, asymptomatic cases. So they show up to this testing site without wearing a mask and all dolled up and making a scene and trying to argue with the people who are working there, the volunteers that are working there, trying to keep everybody safe. So of course there's recordings and whatnot. They had to call the police. They handcuffed them, they took them, they reprimanded them, and then they were let go. But then there's this image, there's this video, there's this photo, and then Western media runs with this imagery and talks about the authoritative regime of China and what they're doing to their people. These ladies hadn't tested for several days. That's a no-no in Guangzhou with thousands of new cases each day. You're not testing? Well, you're not wearing a mask going to a place where people are getting tests? So it all seems very... Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that they're very ignorant. In my honest opinion, it just seems deliberate. It's somebody trying to just get famous for whatever reason, and that happens quite a lot. Now, there is another level that a lot of people don't understand is this is stressful for everybody. It is absolutely possible for people to fly off the handle.
Of course.
To fly off the handle and lose their temper and then there's a recording. Now, is that representative of 1.4 billion people? If you see 100 people protesting because the logistics of food haven't worked the way they should,
They forgot the bananas or something.
Right. Okay, let's not talk about blueberries because that's anyway. Yeah, sometimes somebody complained that they couldn't get the blueberries in Shanghai. But anyway, so there's situations and problems that do take place, but we're talking 1.4 billion people. Let me remind you what happened yesterday. They found one case. It's like this, that barricades and doctors and police and volunteers, poof, they just run to that area and set up the quarantine think about the logistics of all that work, all
A
the
lot.
coordination that takes. Are they gonna mess up here and there? Yes, unfortunately, but that's not the majority of the cases. That's the unfortunate thing. When you see these Western mainstream media like CNN and Fox and BBC, they got this telescope just looking where are they messing up? Where was there a little wow, look, and look. When there's I'm walking around the park with families just enjoying picnics, as I posted yesterday on Twitter, my other account. There are places of China where nothing is going on, where everything is literally 100% back to normal, given just testing every day and just making sure that you scan your things. So that's what I find very annoying, very upsetting, and very is hateful reporting about China. Is hateful. It's designed and targeted at creating a negative response abroad to what China is doing.
And well financed.
Well, yeah,
Well financed.
300 million a year for 5 years.
Let's blast through a
only
couple
in
of these. Let's blast through
Sure.
a couple of these local news stories here. Chongqing epidemic workers and society pulled together day and night. This is an interesting story written by a colleague of mine, James Alexander. Chongqing, in the past week, the number of cases reported daily in Chongqing municipality have numbered into the thousands, as much of the urban area remains under static management. However, the dedication of public officials, workers, volunteers has ensured the epidemic response proceeded smoothly and the needs of residents were widely met. The paragraphs below invite readers to share the experience of fighting. So you can see the story on iChongqing website, and we will continue to show you some more stories here. Give me a moment, and I will bring another one up for you. And this is what we're seeing more and more as this pandemic gets into, I'm going to call it the ninth inning here, because really I was waiting for potentially, I thought, Chongqing has been like you, Fernando, you've been missing it by just by an inch each time you travel and go around.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh, Chongqing, Chengdu got it a couple of months ago, and then Chongqing had a couple, and then it didn't happen, and then now we're in it. Okay, this is another story by James. Lone warrior tirelessly delivers warmth to Chongqing residents during the outbreak. A great story. I commend everybody that should read these stories on our local iChongqing.info website. These are delivery drivers sleeping in their cars, delivering. These guys are really, these guys are really putting it to a test. Now, I'm going to show you guys a couple more little interesting videos here. I'm going to clear them off my desk. Let's see if you guys can identify what this video is. And yes, this is at one of the hospitals, we'll call it temporary hospitals here. And let's have a look at what the locals are doing at the hospital. Now, of course, Fernando says, yes, there might be a couple of people getting annoyed, or maybe they didn't get blueberries or something like that. But let's have a look at what the Chongqingers do in some of these quarantine hospitals. Let's have a look and see what they're doing. Looks like the residents are just having a nice little fun game. And that's inside one of the quarantine facilities. Or, there we go. Now you see these kind of games, it's kind of like toss the hoop around the cup, win a prize. So that's what they're doing. Now let's have a look at what the rest of Chongqing is doing at nighttime here. Oh, there we go. A little bit of a disco pandemic going on in the city. Not all so bad in the city of skyscrapers to light up the music. And while we're at it, let's go have a look at the DJ himself. So there you go, a little bit of Chongqing flavor. Now, I've got some to show you guys here. This is inside the hotel, and I've just got a bit of a write up here. My team prepared this for me. Let's see what this is. This is an official describing on how these not hotels. Some of them are hotels. Some of the quarantine facilities, though. But this here is an overview. This is showing that. The ULI International Conference Center, now it has been transformed into a mobile cabin hospital, which is centralized to isolate. This was at about 3:50 p.m. They saw the staff. They were making and organizing deliveries for dinners. It shows, you can see that they're preparing meals for the people. And then after the dinners, they are put into kind of like an incubator to make sure that it's delivered safely. The chefs are, of course, go through it. They make sure that anyone that is suffering from diabetes or has any low sugar or nutritious, you know what I'm getting at, right? That's one thing. And that just shows you, that is the expo area there. Now, it currently has admitted 1,467 patients. The construction of this North District and mobile cabin is also being pushed forward. The first batch of 1,855 medical staff led by 5 municipal hospitals are all ready to go. Here's something that I saw in my grocery store yesterday. It's written in Chinese there, basically telling people what you're buying has not been, the price hasn't been ramped up. The local authorities have told grocery stores, no price hiking, orderly fashion, make sure that you got vegetables, and that people can order them, either it's online or if the store is available and open for people, that to maintain the stock and the vegetables for the people. And it as well reports people that you are not going to overpay during this pandemic because the government is there to support you. Once again, transparency on that. Here is another video here of a local hero, a local Chongqing driver. Ben, maybe you can do some reading on the screen and tell us what this is maybe all about. How's your Chinese?
I could guess,
On the
but
spot.
I wouldn't be sure.
Okay, no problem. Anyway, it's a local hero, a taxi driver that has been driving all over town, making sure that they are working nonstop to really to facilitate the safety here of people here in Chongqing. I mean, these are the stories that we're seeing, whether it's making sure that people are okay in the middle of the night, if they're suffering from mental health disorders, if they're in a neighborhood that needs to party, they're going to have a party. If they're in quarantine, they're going to make the best of it. This is the thing, and this is how they roll here in China, especially in Chongqing, during this type of event. My question is for Ben now. Has Shanghai, has it fully opened now, or are you still seeing pockets of the city closed off?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because most of it's open. And I recently went to a market that was aimed at foreigners, aimed at tourists, and that's closed. So the things that I'm seeing that are still closed are the places for foreigners. And when I go to famous places, they're empty. There's not many people around because it's usually the tourists go there, usually the foreigners go there. So everything's open for the locals, everything normally, but the places that are not reopened is the places aimed at foreigners or aimed at tourists.
Interesting. Here's a question for Fernando. Maybe you can help us out with this, Fernando.
Okay, I have to refer you to other people's experiences. Why? As I said earlier, I've never actually been in a proper lockdown. In the 3 years that the pandemic has lasted, I've never been in a proper lockdown. My city was locked down for some time, but I could go out, I could go shopping, I could pick up deliveries at the gate. I was never confined to my home. The only situation in which I was kind of like confined is when I was up in a mountain in Fujian, and they locked down the mountain. So they said, like, you cannot come down from the mountain. But We have food. We could go to the restaurants in the mountain. It was not an issue. So the people who have been in lockdown, they can either order things or the government gives them. The people that have been in lockdown, again, I tell you guys, I've been so close. We went to visit our in-laws in Zhengzhou, and we left the next day or 2 days after they found the case in the residential area, and they locked them down, and they've been giving them vegetables for free. They bring in some vegetables and some food for free. Luckily, my mother-in-law is a very one of these Chinese people that just is ready for months. So her freezer is full of food and baozi and jiaozi and all kinds of. So they haven't struggled at all. So whatever the government gives them, okay, thank you, but they didn't really need it. But yes, there are deliveries um, made by the government, paid by the government, that they don't have to. And some communities, what they do is they organize for you to buy online. They deliver them to the gates, and then they bring them to your apartments. It's not like you can order a hamburger, but you can shop at a grocery store and an online store, and they will send you your groceries, and then they'll bring them to you. But there's a stop. It will stop at the community gates, and then people from the community will bring them to you. Those obviously are not paid by the government. That's paid by you. I hope that explains that answers your question.
Yeah, something I want to add. Like I said, I was in the hotel for 8 days recently. I didn't pay a penny. I was in the hotel and I had 3 meals a day, and I didn't pay a thing. I didn't pay a single thing.
Wow. Now it must be such a contrast for you to get tested for free after paying 500 for a test in Europe.
I'm
Insane.
sure
Hey,
it's
I
the
wanted
same
to ask
test.
you a question. Ben, I wanted to ask you a question. Um, eh, what is your, first of all, and you don't need to answer if you don't want, but have you been vaccinated? If you can share that with us, I suppose you must before you enter China. Is that
Yes,
correct?
you need to.
Okay.
Yes, just like Italy,
Um,
you need to be.
and what is your feeling about the Chinese vaccine? Because a lot of people ask this in the comment section. Oh, the Western vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, the Sinovac vaccine. If you needed a booster, what is your feeling about Sinovac vaccine, the Chinese vaccine? Sorry if I put you on the spot. I'm just interested to know.
Yeah, it's a good question because I've been asked this as well by many people. They say if something does happen and you need to take a Chinese vaccine, would I be open to that? Of course I would. Of course I would.
Hmm.
I chose to come here, so if that's what I need to do to be here, then that's what I'm going to do. I know I can leave. If I want to leave, I can leave. But if I'm going to be here, I'm going to follow what they suggest and what they want me to do. But I did see recently about the inhale one, that or was it a drink? It was one
I
of
I haven't heard of it yet.
Yeah. In Shanghai they have it's an inhale, and apparently it tastes like milk tea. So that's what one guy said. It tastes like milk tea. But yeah, if it did come down to I need a booster to stay, yeah, I would do it.
Because there is discussion in, I don't know, government circles about whether to allow um, the Western vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, so mRNA vaccine, to be used in China. And just a lot of debate. I don't follow that discussion, but to me, I mean, when just from looking as an observer, right, from the outside, um, there are a lot of instances of young people, healthy people, just dropping dead. Um, and there's no causality, there's no direct connection between these two things, but a lot of scientists are raising this alarm that maybe there is some connection there. And I I don't know if I would be open to taking a different vaccine that is not the Chinese one. They say that it might be beneficial because there's different strands of the virus. So if you take this and you take that one, it's a more complete protection, so to speak. But that's my take. That's my knowledge. I don't know, Alex, if you know anything about this, or if you wanted to share how you feel about vaccines from outside.
The thing is that it's not pushed here, and we're in here. We're in here by choice. Some of us weren't in here while COVID was ripping the world apart. And then there's people that say, "Wow, I didn't get it because I just watched my country let it rip, and everything's fine now." I got to tell you, I was pretty worried about this when I was in Thailand. And there was no the option was survival of the fittest. It really was. It didn't matter. People were flying out of Thailand to get a vaccination. In fact, the local tourist companies were putting those packages together. Fly out to the UK, fly out to Germany, or wherever you could, fly out to America, spend it, get the vaccination, and then come back, 2 weeks quarantine. I think they were $5,000 and $8,000 packages to do it and get it done with. It was crazy.
It was a big thing in my country. People from Colombia were flying to Florida just to get the vaccine and spend a couple of days and then just come back. It was a huge thing for a time.
And then it's the way that, here's where I'm getting a little bit concerned about if this ever happens again and what we can learn from this. Why wasn't our military in Canada called up to help do, whether it's a, PPE preparing for, to treat these patients, whether it's transporting patients. I mean, we just saw the headlines here this weekend that in Ireland, there's a 7-hour wait for an ambulance. 5 hours you're sitting pretty much. I don't know if you've heard that, but in Belfast, yeah, it hit the news. It's all over the place. Yes, you're going to get people that wear a mask, people that don't wear a mask, people that maybe go to the World Cup and sit in the stadium of 40,000 with no mask. I mean, human nature, people are going to do what they want to do. But my choice right now is to be in a country that I completely feel safe, not just from catching COVID, but also safe for other things. Something that has arrived in your country that probably hasn't really arrived here. And that is the staggering inflation that I have witnessed through my family, through my friends, through my cousins, through my grandparents. It has hit the collective West in the butt like you wouldn't believe. I'll get to you in a second, Fernando. I know you're ready for this. I have watched my mother's electricity bills and her gas bills go from, 5 years ago, maybe 10% of her pension monthly to be larger than her monthly pension now in Canada. A line of credit that used to take out that maybe for a shortfall has ballooned in prices. I've actually seen and heard friends that have the bank that has actually called the mortgage in almost a year ago and say, my friend said, but hey, I've been paying the mortgage. Everything's fine. What are you talking about? I haven't missed a payment. We're calling it in. It's in small writing. We can call it in. Or we can send you to another lending partner of ours. Well, good luck refinancing a $750,000 house, add inflation to that, and going from a 2% or 3% 30-year fixed to a 7, 8, or 9% fix over 30 years. That's 270%, not even accumulative. You're paying for your house 3 times over before you're paying on the principal on that thing. When they said to me as a kid, oh man, the kids are going to pay for this now. Oh, they were so damn right, Fernando. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Well, you talk about protecting. This is for another. This is a very short thing, okay? This is for another video, Alex. But protecting people, Chinese people, from cryptocurrency scams. we just saw what happened.
Oh, yes. I
They
did a show
they
on that.
regulate they regulate things in a way that protects the people.
Yeah.
There you go. We don't need to go any further. That's what I wanted to share. It was very short.
1.5 million accounts got wiped out from, and I said it on a program. I had a guy on my program, and don't get me wrong. I think the blockchain technology is interesting. It's a software. It's really effective. You see, there's Bitcoin, and then there's the rest of it. And it is showing, I mean, some of these are staggering numbers, bigger than Bernie Madoff. These are huge numbers. Celsius Network. I remember a guy came on my program about 3 weeks ago, pumping it. And I said, look out, man. You know, Mazinski's going to jail. Bang, that fell, you know. Then the latest FTX fell. Genesis fell. Gemini fell. And it's not about the technology. It's about protecting. You could see that market was ripe, and it was huge on YouTube. So huge that YouTube's last quarter missed its financial target in advertising because of crypto advertising dropped off the face of the earth. A lot of YouTubers are actually going to get sued for promoting these products. Lots of them. There's 4 or 5 of them that took a lot of money for this, and a lot of celebrities did it. But yeah, then there's that whole thing. Oh, but China, bad. China doesn't get this. Hey, China is a big supporter of the blockchain. In fact, their digital RMB is going to. It's good. Well, it's already in a pretty good trial basis at this time. Here's another quote. I like this because I got an answer for this one. Somebody said. Where is it? It's like these guys are on another planet, and I always say, yeah, we're on planet China. We're on planet China. Let's have a look at some of these questions here, guys, and maybe we can answer some of them. Are they drunk and on drugs or on drugs? Ben, got an answer for that?
No, definitely not. Just speaking the truth. From experience, because we're living it right now.
Okay, what makes them wake up?
The best
what makes them wake up and hate? Wake up each morning and want to hate their own hometown so much? It's not hate.
It's disappointment, my friend.
Disappointment. Yeah, I'm disappointed. But M Love, I actually moved out of Canada over 26 years ago. I've been all around just because I lived in, I guess, Monaco for 20 years. Did I hate Canada? Not really. Am I disappointed? Well, yeah, for a lot of reasons. Look at the decisions that the country's made in the last few years. Not talking about necessarily COVID, but the fiscal responsibility. Now you have a whole generation of pensioners that can't pay their electricity bills. I don't know if the same is going on with you and your family and friends in United Kingdom, Ben, but that's got to be a conversation, roundtable conversation at the local pub, which probably the average beer has gone up double the price. If the pub is still in business because it needs to pay its 10,000 electricity pound beer. But is that a concern? Is that an aftershock of some of the decisions the government has made supporting its local COVID policy, which kind of failed? I don't know. What's your thoughts? Do you think the UK's in trouble, or
it's not getting better? It's definitely not getting better. The gas prices sky high. Gas prices are sky high. Electricity
what's sky high? What's sky high? Sorry.
Gas prices for cars.
The gas prices. Oh Jesus. Okay. Give me an example. I'm warming up. Give me an example. What do you think?
How much?
Yeah. I love sticker shock.
I think the last time I talked to my mom, I think she said it was, I'm trying to think if it's liters or gallons. It was like one pound, £1 pound 190 for, I'm not sure if it's pounds or liters, but gallons or liters. But yeah, it was sky high.
So what would that be? What do you think an average household will pay for? Okay, let's break this down, because this will be the end all be all for anybody that doubts why the heck we're in China. Okay, and why you shouldn't get on an airplane as soon as you can get a visa to get here and move here. But let's break it down. Okay, currently right now I'm in I'm going to compare Chongqing to a major city in the United States. It's a pretty damn big city, but let's call Chongqing. I don't even want to call it Chicago, but okay, let's call it Chicago. Okay, let's call it Chicago or New York. I'd like to compare it to New York, but let's call it a big city in the United States. I've got 88 meters in this apartment here. I am in a district that has 4 new shopping malls across the street, literally 100 meters. I'm 30 meters onto a major metro line. I've got 5 lanes of traffic going into the downtown area, which is 15, 20-minute drive on a good day because the infrastructure is so damn awesome here. And I pay in Chongqing 1,500 RMB a month for this apartment. Okay. My electricity bill last month was 107 RMB. My internet was 99 RMB. I think that includes my wife's phone. And I'm happy with the tax system here. Very happy. I pay taxes in China. Yes, I do. So when I order stuff, I'm ordering that made in China product. That's right. I'm ordering it made in China, delivered in China, even better delivery prices than I would get in other parts of the world. My e-bike that I bought for a whopping brand new, gauged for Chongqing, because Chongqing's got hills all over the place. That cost me a whopping 2,300 RMB for a brand new bike, about $300. And I spend about $6 charging it a month. So let me break this down for you. My total burn rate, including, and this is a brand new apartment here. In fact, I was so happy with the price, I decided to get another location closer to downtown to become the weekend apartment. This is what's going on in this country. Of course, Shanghai is going to be more expensive, but the opportunities to make more money there are also there as well. But you can survive in China and do very well if you put your mind to it. If you find that right job or position, companies, it can be tough. I mean, there's, we had an import-export business here for many years, and then rules changes in the United Kingdom. We were based in the Channel Islands in Jersey. I think you know that, Ben, the Channel Islands, and we had a company that had an agreement with the European Union called the Low-Value Consignment Relief, and we used to import from China, export back into Europe with a low-value consignment relief, which means that we could sell our items without charging VAT legally. That loophole was closed, just like some other businesses. Boom, closes overnight. What's this here? Alex's biggest expense is paying income tax to his Canadian government, even for the income he makes. I don't pay income tax to Canada. Why would I pay income tax to Canada? Can anybody answer that? Does that make any sense?
No.
Okay,
Alex, I have a question for you.
Yeah, tell me. You moving here?
So
you going to move here tomorrow morning?
You guys pay taxes in China, so you support the CPC. So you're a communist supporter. We got you now. You communist supporters.
I think
anybody who works legally here is happy to pay taxes. Why? Because you have the infrastructure. You have something to show for the taxes that you pay. You have the
of course,
you have education, you have the infrastructure, you have transportation. In some countries, in my country, Colombia, you pay taxes, and it just really because you know that the money is being
Sure.
used for things that are not going to benefit people, that are just going to be wasted. Um, that's changing though, but it's the thing. I mean, I think people in China don't really worry too much about paying taxes because you see the tax money at work. You see the development, you see the improvement of people's lives, and well, eh, it's a small price to pay for the well-being of society. It's a society that does pretty well.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the average person here now, you have to understand that people that move here, they don't necessarily move here because this has the Shanghai buzz to it. Chongqing is really kind of it's a city that it's a mega city that has grown up around people that haven't realized it yet. That's the difference. It's quite different. Like, how to explain it is, in some ways, you go down some streets, it still feels like a village.
Mm.
And then you have skyscrapers everywhere, and then people are, driving down the streets with carts with towels on them, and you're like, what city are these people in? It's pretty amazing. So Fernando, what's next for you? What's next for you? Where to travel?
Well, I'm going to stay here until the end, until the beginning of December for my best friend's birthday. So I'm going to stay here until the beginning of December. After that, I'm going to start heading to, as I said, Guangxi, going to Nanning, going to Guilin, going to Yangshuo, then into Yunnan, and then I'm gonna make a right and start going up because I need to go to Chongqing. I'm going to be headed to Chongqing in the first half of the year, and hopefully get to shake your hand in person. So that's what we're doing basically. Couple of videos here and there that I'm working on, a couple of projects, paid speeches and things like that. But it's all like on a day-to-day basis. It's very simple. But other than that, just itchy feet, wanted to get back on the road and see you guys have no idea what an eye-opening experience this 11 months on the road have been. The beauty of the country, the the changes in not only in geography and in cuisine, in dialects and culture, but also in the expression of the cities themselves, the identities of the cities themselves. It's it's been such a wonderful experience, and I'm very glad that I took this that I made this decision to just retire and just go travel, go see the country, go actually experience it by myself. That's what I've been doing. So if anybody wants to know a little bit about my story, my adventures, is called "Are We There Yet?" the YouTube channel.
Ben, what's in store for you over the next few months?
Exploring Shanghai, seeing what Shanghai and the surrounding area has to offer. I'm still working full time as an English teacher, so it does restrict my traveling a little bit because I'm busy. But yeah, just keeping people updated on the situation here in Shanghai and seeing what Shanghai has to offer. And eventually, I'll be getting outside of Shanghai too.
What's the first destination you want to travel to outside of Shanghai?
Somewhere warm. So I'm thinking Xiamen, Sanya, anywhere that has a beach.
Really? Okay, guys, your guesstimate on when China would open up fully.
Oof, I think probably. I think we're looking at a booster, something that is going to protect us against these new variants, and
Okay.
vaccination drives for the elderly, which is the biggest issue with opening up. You open up and you put 150 million elderly at risk, people who cannot take or do not want to take a vaccine because of traditional minds or their beliefs and whatnot. So either a booster or improved quarantine. like improved screening or a better cooperation with Western countries, so that people who come here are not bringing any danger, any risk to the country. So 2023 summer, or probably later than that, there'll be a relaxation of border, I think. But it really depends on what the rest of the rest of the world is doing. China is happy to keep doing what they're doing. They know that it's expensive. They know that it costs jobs, opportunities, and they know it's not easy. It's not an easy choice, but the scientific choice is the one that they chose to follow, and is the one that they stick into. So I think that putting a date is difficult because it really depends on what the rest of the world does.
Okay. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've actually never thought about it like the way Fernando said it, but I definitely agree. I definitely don't think it's just about China. It's about how the rest of the world works together with China to make it happen, because it's not just Chinese people that want it to happen. People from outside want to come here too. So if I was to guess, I would say maybe next summer, maybe at the beginning of next summer, June, July, August 2023, I expect something to happen. And like Fernando says, it really depends how the cooperation goes with other countries around, because it's not just the people here that want something to happen.
Okay. And family, I guess you said goodbye to your family. When did you think you would see them the next moment? When was the
I expect to be here. When I arrived in August, I expected to be here until next August. So if nothing changes and I'm happy, I'll be extending my stay. But at the moment it's August, but I do expect to be here longer than that.
Okay, let's see here. So what I normally do at this stage of the live stream is I normally hand over the screen to the both of you guys. I let you guys chat with the audience, and then after we're done that, we'll go to a little bit of a video and some music so everybody can say goodbye. Who wants to go first? Is Fernando or Ben want to go first? You guys can talk and chat whatever you'd like, or address anyone in the comment section. Up to you guys. How about let's go with Ben first. Maybe tell everybody about your channel, what kind of content you make, and how everybody finds you, and you can tell what you do, and if you want. And then once you're done, we'll go to Fernando, and then we'll end it. You guys have heard enough of me talking today, so let's start with you, Ben, and then we'll head to Fernando. Okay, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Excuse me. So the kind of stuff that I do on my channel, it's a lot of travel stuff. It's a lot of going around and seeing places. I do like to speak, and I do like to tell people what's going on, but I like showing the scenery. I like showing the city. So a lot of my stuff is I want to go outside and I want to see stuff, because there's so much to see here in Shanghai. And even though there are small travel restrictions, it doesn't really bother me that much, because there's so much to do. And even if I was in Shanghai for a year, I still wouldn't run out of things to do. So with my channel, I really get out there and see stuff, and I give my opinion, of course. And if anything does change, the policies, or when I do go into quarantine, I talk about that too, because it's not just the sunshine and rainbows. Some things do happen, but they happen for a reason. So I explain what's happening, because I think we all agree that the Western world and other countries, they don't really understand why China does what it does, but there's good reasons for that, and we understand it because we're here and we see it. So I definitely talk about the not the downside, but something doesn't go to plan. When I was sent to quarantine, I had plans for the whole week that I had to cancel, so I was sent there, and that was the way it is. So I do talk about that stuff too. I am the only Shanghai Disneyland vlogger in the whole world that uploads regular videos. So if you're interested in Shanghai Disneyland, when it reopens, because it's still currently closed. It's been closed for 3 weeks, and it's still currently closed. They've said they're going to open at the end of November. They haven't set a date yet, but until further notice. So if you're interested in Shanghai Disneyland too, I'm on Instagram as well. I post regular stuff on Instagram. I have been doing a few live streams recently, because I get so many questions, because I have just come back to China. So I have students and families and so many people that want to come here to work and for business asking me, how did I do it? And I have so many videos on my channel already about how I got to China. And like I said, I do live streams just because I get so many questions. Some people can ask me questions because the regulations are changing all the time. And when I came here in August, it was only 4 months ago, but the regulations were different then. So I try to keep up to date with the current regulations and help people out, try to come here because a lot of people help me to get here. So that's what my channel's about. So over to Fernando.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, basically, I've had kind of like a vision of what Western freedom of speech is with my permanent suspension on Twitter for my Fermube account, and with what I've seen the algorithm do to my YouTube channel, where I have 32,000 subscribers, but I get just a couple hundred views every time I put a video. It's just not normal. So I am a little bit disheartened at this endeavor of putting content trying to explain China to people when there are mechanisms behind the curtain preventing my message to go out there. So what I'm trying to do right now is decide, am I going to put any more effort? If you see my channel, my last video was also with Alex, another live stream 22 or 24 days ago. I'm not changing anybody's minds. I'm not changing the world. I'm not preventing a war. I'm not going to do that by putting any more energy or effort into making YouTube videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on my travel channel. My travel channel has, well, a lot fewer subscribers, so please do go subscribe. Are we there yet? Channel. But I'm just going to do my travel things. And initially, my idea was to do beautiful cinematic videos, which I've been doing, but those take a very long time to edit and put together. So I'm considering and really thinking that I'm just going to do simple blogs, just sharing this amazing experience that I'm having, which is something so unique. How many foreigners live in an RV trailer in China? I know myself. I don't know how many have that experience. How many RV trailers are pulled by an electric vehicle? That's another thing that is very unique of what I'm doing. It's all very unique. So I think that there's a story there. There's things to show that to me are just my daily life or simple decisions or problems, issues, like the blowing up of a tire and changing a tire in a highway in China. I wonder, I should have brought a camera and just shoot that. But I'm thinking I'm going to start going in that direction, showing my story, my life, the choices that I've made living here and doing what I'm doing over the next 2.5, 3 years. So that's why perhaps you haven't seen too much about Fermube in my channel, and you won't see any more on Twitter. That's the direction that I am considering taking, and perhaps you'll see more of that simple, not so edited kind of footage about my travels in China. And if you want to know more about what it is like to do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And I want to thank Ben very much for joining. The information that you have is very useful for a lot of people out there who want to come. So you are a great source of information for a lot of people. So yeah, anybody just subscribe to Ben, just go see the videos and share those people, because there are a lot of people who need that information, and they will be getting it firsthand from a person who just experienced it and has the latest information on that. So very valuable. It's a pleasure to share this with you, Ben. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. And that's it. That's my spiel for today. Mute. There we go. Do you hear me? There you go.
Yeah.
So what do you normally shoot your videos on your phone, or do you have a dedicated camera, or?
No, just iPhone 12. Yeah, I'm not really. What do you say? I'm not really invested too much. I'm gonna get into. I'm gonna get a good camera for making videos, but yeah, at the moment, just wanted to start with what I have. So yeah, just an
Mm,
iPhone.
yeah. Um, yeah, because depending on what you're shooting with, or what you want to get, different mics would do different things, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get something that gives you as much versatility as possible. So getting like a shotgun mic, that's great,
Mm.
but then using that on the laptop becomes a little bit more difficult, and things like that. Look, I love this thing. Not the cheapest thing, but it's phenomenal. Is the DJI mic,
Yeah, yeah. I've
because
seen it. Yeah.
you can hook it up to your phone, you can hook it up to your computer, you can hook it up to your camera, to whatever. So that versatility is awesome. And if you, down the road, say for example, you have a shotgun mic where you can connect it to this, it becomes a wireless shotgun mic.
Mhm.
This
Okay.
thing is I find it really, really cool, very useful, very, yeah. There are other brands that
Mm.
have the same system, the same service, the same everything, and are a little bit cheaper. But getting advice on what to get is really, has everything to do with what you want to shoot and what you want to do.
Yeah.
I am the gear guy in the YouTube community in China. I just buy lots of things.
Yeah.
Oh, we're live.
Are we still going?
Apparently, we're live. Okay. Why? Okay. I guess we need to leave the studio. Bye, everybody.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.